Hello and welcome to Mason Cable Networks from the cinema. My name is Alex Dodson, and after a week off due to the ires of Hurricane Sandy, I'm going to be talking to you about the movies coming out in the Johnson Center Cinema this weekend. Now, some of you may already know about the JC Cinema, but for those who don't, it's one of Mason's best programs. Not only do you get to watch movies for free as a Mason student, but the movies tend to range from merely watchable to top quality filmmaking. Ultimately, my goal for this show is to provide you with a little preview into the week's upcoming films and hopefully persuade you to go experience a free movie the way they're meant to be enjoyed, on the big screen. Besides, all movies are better when they're free. Getting into it now, the pictures that I'll be showing this weekend are two very different films that premiered this past summer. On Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night, The Campaign is the holdover from last week, while on Saturday and Sunday night, The Dark Knight Rises will get your hopes up and then thoroughly disappoint you. Since the decision of which film to see this weekend is simply too much to bear for one person's mind alone, let's talk about what movies you're going to be seeing this weekend. Now, The Campaign follows a small-town election race that has real-world implications both on and off-screen. Debuting just 3 months before the most recent presidential election, political satire was a welcome sight for all of those 18 above. Pitting two of the hottest, well maybe not hottest, but definitely funniest comedians working today against each other, and you have a farce ripe for laughter and full of slander with Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis. Now, I don't consider myself a very politically savvy or informed citizen. My daily news comes from movie and television online publications like Collider, Vulture, or IndieWire, rather than CNN, Fox, or MSNBC. I would say that it's fair to assume that some of the more intense political musings and critiques flew just a little over my head. Now, I'm not ashamed of this. I plan on writing about movies for the rest of my life, not running for office. That withstanding, I still found The Campaign to be a very funny film. I think that Galifianakis has a tendency to overdo it sometimes with his physical comedy, but he showed some great restraint in this particular film and matched Ferrell joke for joke. The comedy felt more like a tag team than one star outshining the other, which starkly contrasts the competition seen in real-life elections. I was surprised, however, that the filmmakers didn't go all in with their political critiques. They seemed to pull some punches and have a much softer ending than I initially anticipated. Things just sort of wrapped up and worked out for the better for everyone. Of course, with some of the anger shown by people in real life over politics, maybe a happier ending should be the end goal for America in the aftermath of Obama's victory. Enough political talk. Let's move on to everyone's favorite not-so-superhero. The Dark Knight Rises kicks off 8 years after the events that occurred at the end of The Dark Knight. Harvey Dent is dead, and Batman has taken the burden of Gotham's blame and gone into hiding. This new bad guy, Bane, played by the increasingly awesome Tom Hardy, starts wreaking havoc on Gotham, both financially and physically. He forces Batman out of retirement to promptly break his back and send him off to some remote prison. Throw in some subplots around Anne Hathaway's Catwoman, Joseph Gordon-Levitt's cop character, and Miranda Tate's mysterious executive role, and you have yourself one incredibly loud, drawn-out, and overly complicated mess of a film. Now, I'm just going to come right out and say this just to get it over with. Going against the clear public consensus, I did not think The Dark Knight Rises was God's gift to Earth or even a good movie. If you compare it to the more entertaining Batman Begins or the masterfully crafted The Dark Knight, the concluding film in Nolan's Batman trilogy completely misses the mark. I recognize that Returns was going to have a hard time living up to the legacy of its fantastic predecessors, but even when viewed as a standalone film, it's just not very good. The story is so complicated that I couldn't even write a summary of the plot without confusing myself. Nolan tries too hard to fit everything in together and ends up literally boring me for almost 3 hours. Story aside, the characters rubbed me the wrong way as well. The large absence of Michael Caine's butler, Alfred, was infuriating, seeing as he is one of the best characters in the series. What was even worse than his absence was Christian Bale's final turn as the Batman. He was alone for too much of the film, and that whole dour, broody thing works well when he plays it off Catwoman or Alfred, but Bale just didn't seem to have his heart in it 100%. He needs to get back to some original pieces and truly flex his amazing acting range again and stop playing Bruce Wayne. It ran its course after the second film. Now, speaking of Catwoman, what an unexpected pleasure that she turned out to be. Since I hated Katie Holmes and Maggie Gyllenhaal as Rachel Dawes in the previous films, it was nice to have a strong female presence on screen. Another treat was Joseph Gordon-Levitt's cop character. He ended up doing a lot of the heavy lifting for the emotional side of the film, and I can't wait to see where his character goes next. Finally, the bad guy I was hotly anticipating for such a long time, Bane. Now, I love Tom Hardy. He's definitely the up-and-coming actor that people need to keep an eye on. However, I was a bit disappointed in Bane. I laid the blame at Nolan's feet for the character development and the overall writing for the villain, but I was never that terrified of him or what he was planning on doing, like I was with Liam Neeson's Ra's al Ghul from Batman Begins or Heath Ledger's Joker from The Dark Knight. Also, the whole Occupy Wall Street message that Bane was doing was laid on a little too thick for my taste. It contributed to my previous grievances of Nolan trying too hard to put too much into his last Batman film. So what movie will you be seeing this weekend? This is where I come in. The campaign played last weekend right before the election, so that was perfect timing. The weekend after, not so much. I have a feeling that most people will be wanting a break from all things voting related for a while, but if you do have some leftover political vigor in your system, make sure to flesh it out with the campaign. As for The Dark Knight Rises, it really is a must-see film, no matter how good or bad people tell you it is. Besides the fact that Nolan has revolutionized the way Hollywood makes, and will continue to make, a superhero movie for the next 20 years at least, the third movie in a trilogy is always necessary to watch, so you can finally get closure with the story from the previous two films. Now, no matter what you decide to watch this weekend, I can guarantee you that you will have a good time at the Johnson Center Cinema this weekend. Showtimes for the campaign are 9 on Thursday, 6 and 9 on Friday, and 6 on Saturday. The Dark Knight Rises will be showing at 9 on Saturday and 6 on Sunday. Thanks for tuning in. Watch for me next week when we'll discuss an oldie but a goodie, Grease. Have a great night.